Welcome to the Propreneur Podcast, where we help practice owners become better entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Dino Watt. Welcome once again, everybody, to the Propreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Dino Watt. Excited to have you here for another episode with another expert, where we get to find out how to implement the best practices in your practice. Thank you again, everybody, for sharing this podcast with your friends and colleagues. I was recently out at an event after a long period of not being at events with COVID. And I was so grateful to hear so many people come up to me and say, hey, I've listened to a few episodes of your podcast, or my friend sent me an episode of your podcast and I really liked it. So thank you so much for sharing it. And that's the way this podcast grows. That's the way we get the best resources and best information out to all of you. So again, today we're going to be diving in with another expert in their field, someone who is going to share their whole story with us, as well as what they're up to. And I'm so excited to have them here. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Also, reach out and subscribe to us on Instagram and TikTok if you're a TikTok fan, and Facebook, because we love to share the information there too. Well, let's get started with today's episode. Today, I get the pleasure of interviewing Paula Smith, who is somebody I've known for quite a long time. And what's weird is she never ages. Like, I haven't seen her age, and I guess it's been a decade. It's just weird. I don't know what potions she's drinking, but we're going to find out today. She is with Wave, and Wave is an amazing company that has helped orthodontists all over the world save more time and spend more time with their patients and build those relationships. So we're going to dive into it right now. Paula, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dino, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah,
I feel like you're the ageless one in my book.
Oh,
but
please.
Thank you. You're too kind.
You know what I just realized the other day, Paula, is I was telling Shannon, I'm 48. I'll be 49 in November. And I was like, I'm going to be 50. Like, I've never registered being 50 in my brain before. But then I see people like you and like Michelle Shimon and all these people. I'm like, oh, well, if they can look that good at over 50, so can I. Right. So.
Exactly. Right. We can't,
like,
we're not going to talk about the number, but
no, we won't talk about numbers. It's you're
you
holding
should join
strong.
the crowd. Come join
holding
the team.
Strong. Right. Jeez, it's amazing. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but Paula, we have talked about getting on the podcast or connecting for a long time. So I'm so excited to actually finally have you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here, Dino. Yes, we have talked about this for a long time, and I'm so glad that we finally got our schedules to mesh.
I know.
And do this.
Well, you always have the cool booth with the cool stuff to give out, like whether it be cool cookies or other accoutrement. It's been awesome to see you at all the different events, but we haven't seen each other in forever because of COVID. How have you dealt with the last, well, you know what? I'm going to ask you that question later because I'm breaking a rule on my show.
Oh,
the first thing I always do on the show is we always ask everybody's story because I believe stories connect everybody. So tell us your story. How did you get into the orthodontic world and doing what you're doing now? Tell us that story.
You might say a lot of luck and opportunity, Dino.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you believe in destiny?
Absolutely.
I do too. I really do. So I think I just met the right people at the right time. But my story begins, with back in the day, I took a job when I was in high school. And the reason I took the job, I didn't know what a sterilization tech was, right? Who knew? But the important information on the job was that no weekends and only after school hours, like 3 to 5:30, right? So this, and I was like, I'm in, sign me up,
right? Yeah.
Went to my local orthodontist, the person who placed the ad, and interviewed. And he was ex-special forces in the military. So really awesome guy, but he believed in systems. He really truly believed that systems make, the practice, all of us, team-wise, the practice successful. And one day, kind of an aha moment for me, is I'm doing my little sterilization job, but he had taken off 2 sets of braces from patients, and they just stood up from the chair. And just, Dino, I don't know if you've ever witnessed, but just that self-confidence, that they have, that joy. It was like pure joy in that moment. And I remember just feeling that energy. And I remember turning to him. It was right at the sink, washing his hands, and he said, you know what? You have like the best job ever. And I remember him kind of giving me a stern look, because he's a stern guy. He looked at me, he looked at the patients that I was looking at, and he looked back and he was like, gets this smile, kind of a half smile, which was a smile for him. But he goes, you know what? I do.
Oh, that's cool.
And that for me, I guess, was hook, line, and sinker. Dino, I was in. I was like, I have to be a part of this, for the rest of my life, creating beautiful smiles, helping patients to achieve that self confidence. I just even feel that when they get braces on or aligners or whatever it is, you just get that feeling that, hey, you know what? I'm doing something that's going to change the rest of my life, and improve it.
Yeah,
So it was awesome. That's my
that's great.
story.
Wow, that is great. And that's such an inspiring thing, right? When you see it. And I hear that story a lot from orthodontists or people who work in orthodontic offices about being able to actually see that transformation. And a lot of businesses, you sell your product, you do your thing, you walk away, and hopefully there's some transformation. Hopefully there's something that happens. But when you actually get to physically see the shift in somebody's teeth, first of all, but then see it in their countenance and how they like feel about themselves and the empowerment and the confidence they have, it's pretty awesome.
It really is. It really is. And like I said, it got me. I was just like, I couldn't imagine doing anything else at that point.
So then you were with that company for how long, and then what'd you do next?
I just kind of moved up the ladder. What was great is I worked with a lot of great people there. Everyone there was a mentor to me.
Nice.
Had that been different, that situation or experience, who
Yeah.
knows where I'd be now. But I just loved it. He trained me to be a clinical assistant. So I went through clinical assisting.
Wow.
Of course, you and I are here in Utah. So
Mhm.
babies come about, and the front desk gal had to be
Yeah.
out on maternity leave. And I was kind of low clinical assistant on the pole there. So
uh,
they were said, you go up front and answer the phones, you
oh,
can, and, schedule people, right?
right.
And I got to see a whole different world of,
Sure.
the moms and the dads and scheduling, and, that you just have to be so gracious and, try to work them all into like the same spot, in the
Yep.
office. So I just again got really lucky, and through things, this doctor also not only believed in systems, but he believed highly in continuing education.
Oh,
So he
nice.
hired a consultant who I ended up meeting through that world and that realm. And I eventually ended up working for her.
Oh,
So
nice.
it just, kind of evolved again. The people I met, the people I was surrounded with, and I love every aspect of orthodontics. So,
Nice.
you know, um, working with computer systems, from the beginning, that's how I got where I am now. Was that my true like joy with things was that why don't we have software systems that can assist us to do everything we need to do, in an office, make it an easy process,
Yep.
and allow me more time to give like great customer service or to enjoy that experience, that
Hmm.
we talked about.
But
So
it's interesting though, Paula, right? Because some people really fight against that technology side of things. I was in an office not 3 months ago where he like the doctor was fighting to keep both systems, paper and software, right? And it's like, no, we have to have paper still. Well, yeah, we can have software, but that's the backup. Paper is the real thing. And I get it. I get some people just don't want to change, but as you've gone through this process, and especially with what you're dealing with now, which we'll get into, like how have you seen that, and what have you done to deal with that when people are like, no, I don't want to leave this paper because the paper is reliable, I guess.
yeah, well, absolutely. And I think change is hard, right? For all
Mhm.
of us. Do you agree? I mean, we all,
Yep.
I think our country as a whole went through, the world, went through a huge change last year. So I
Hmm.
think change is always hard, for people. But I think eventually when you do buy in, when you do make that change, when you do convert from that paper to digital,
Hmm.
there's so many doors that then again, too, just open up for you, in so many ways that, with charting now, instead of handwriting something where I can't
Yep.
read someone's writing, you can, put in customizations that is also in your office
Hmm.
language, because as you've probably seen, we all
That's
speak a
right.
different language out
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you come into an office, you have to adapt. Do they call it a debond or
Right.
a, remove braces?
Right.
What's it called
Yeah.
here in the office? But I do feel digital is just honestly, I deal with a lot of startups too that are purchasing older practices right now
Oh, right.
that
Yeah.
still use paper charts,
Yep.
and it's hard for, again, the people who have been digital all the time to imagine, right, that there was a paper chart
That's
at
right.
one time for patients.
What is this row of multicolored charts hanging in the back wall? What are these
Exactly.
huge filing cabinets for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have to pull those,
Right.
on a daily,
I
like
have
if
to
I
go
have
find
100 people
those.
coming today, I've got to go, take those charts out,
Yep.
for them. But yeah, I do love digital. I also like the access that it gives to our patients today too,
Mm,
in a transfer process, and
sure.
people do move, as we
Yeah.
know.
Life happens. Sure.
Yeah, right. And so just being able to access that information easily for your patients and even be able to provide that for them,
Yeah.
and or other offices is a huge,
It's a huge
reason to make a
benefit.
change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, let's rewind for just a moment because I would love to. You hinted on it just a little bit there. I'd love to find out this last year, right? There's been a lot of change. Well, actually, now I guess we're going into like almost a year and a half. This last year of change of COVID, you're in a position where you were going out to offices and talking to people. And for like me, that stopped, right? Because they were only allowing certain people in there. Tell me about how you dealt with this last year and how that's helped or hindered your business.
Well, I felt lucky because truly, just like we're meeting on this Zoom meeting today, when I'm home, not traveling on the road, this is how we communicate with our clients, right? So I felt blessed in the fact that I had, always worked remotely
Nice.
anyway when I'm home. So for me, it was just the change. And for me, I think it is the hard change. And I think for all of our offices out there, that you couldn't be in person, we
Yeah.
couldn't be sitting down face to face live and talking, to each other. But I think it was something that really helped me to assist our clients in the digital world that, when our offices shut down, some people were booked out, months with exams.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't made the digital change to doing a virtual exam or didn't have the capability or know how to do that, those are things that we got to help to educate our own clients on, the
Nice.
system to say, hey, you know what? Let's send a blast email. Let's send a blast text out to all of our scheduled exams and say, hey, because we can't meet you in person, we'd still love to meet you. Let's make this virtual
That's right.
and be able to. I felt like a lot of us parents were stuck at home with our kids, right, suddenly, and we're going, what do I do with them? How do I entertain them? Well, I could still also check things off my list as the mom and do my virtual exam, even have the whole
Yeah.
family
That's right.
have an exam, right,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
be knowing what my plans were, when offices reopened, if I could get started, what could happen. But I
Love it.
felt it would just help me to teach others, and I wish we could have, like, in our community, even branched out to, the educational system to help teachers, learn how
Yeah.
to teach, remotely. So
Absolutely.
it was
Wow,
great.
that is awesome. That's great. I'm so glad it was positive for you and it worked out well. I feel the same way. I've been doing virtual already. So this was like, oh, let me I'll show you how to do this because you don't know how to do this, but it's pretty not that difficult. And it's such a great convenience. But let's dive into Wave because you started working for Wave. And first, tell us about Wave, what Wave is, and how you got involved with them and what you do for them now.
Yeah. So I'm the director of sales and training with WaveOrtho. They're an awesome company. It is a practice management system, an orthodontic practice management system, and it's a complete package. A few of our goals are, number one, obviously to make things more efficient, to allow our teams, our doctors, more time to interact and really grow relationships with their patients on a one-on-one basis. But also Wave, provides us many opportunities to minimize costs in an orthodontic office. One of our true goals is that we're not having several different platforms in order to run your office, that your
Mm,
team works from one system. You can have your automated reminders go out from within that system. You can two-way text your patients. So really open up those avenues of communication with them. You can blast email and text out of the system. People can book exams real time off of your website, to name a few. Yeah. So our goal is just that, instead of your team having to log in and out of different platforms to see, did the confirmations go out, to all the patients and who confirmed and who didn't, it's all built into WaveOrtho. So just making it easy and accessible.
Well, there are definitely offices I've gone to where it's like, okay, we put this in here. Now we got to move this over to here. And now this is, like you talked about, the multiple different platforms that they have to go to. So what does all Wave encompass? It encompasses scheduling, like you said, and it encompasses what? Tell us all the accoutrement.
We have automated payments inside of Wave, electronic claims billing inside of Wave. Of course, your practice analytics is inside of Wave. You can generate, many reports for that. You can also collect leads on WaveOrtho. We have a leads app that is the doctor or assistants. You can download an app onto your phone. And when you're out and about, because I feel like, Dino, you've probably been out at the airport and been asked, what is it that you do, right?
Sure.
And we start having a conversation about that.
Yeah.
So you could actually take down, if a patient says, gosh, I really need to get in to see you, you go, well, I'd love to take some information down, and we'll have somebody from the office reach out. So it allows you to, track and collect leads. Yeah. On the go. So there's really nothing it doesn't do. We have imaging built into Wave. You name it, it's a one-stop. We can do it all from inside of Wave.
And what's the background of Wave? Like, how did they get started, and who's behind it?
Yeah, so we've been in the business of practice management software for over 22 years.
Wow.
So originally there were two partners for Wave, and we were known as Ortho Ease back then. So some people may know us from the name Ortho Ease.
Okay.
In 2015, one of the partners decided to buy the other one out. He is a practicing orthodontist out of Laguna Beach and Laguna Niguel, California, two busy locations. Yeah, that he runs out of there.
Nice.
But when he rebranded, he's obviously a surfer at heart. He loves to do, anything from renting electric scooters, to get a buzz around in the different cities that we attend and meeting. Yeah. He's a true adventurer, downhill skiing, mountain biking, you name it. But he's a surfer at heart. So WaveOrtho came to be at that point in time. But I think that what you'll find is that because he's an orthodontist, that's really, we've built a lot of efficiencies again into the software that just, help to maximize workflow in the practice. Really, again, our goal is just making it easy for everybody.
Yeah. So what's been some of the biggest challenges that you've come up against with people when they are coming into Wave? What is it, a matter of all the other softwares that now they got to combine into one, and the learning curve, or what are some of the challenges you run into?
I say we have a really wonderful training program as far as, and you put out a newsletter on this not too long ago that I absolutely just loved it. But we record all of their training sessions with us. So we provide them, then they have the virtual, video, of course, of what's happening on the screen as we're training, us talking to them as they answer or ask questions, and we give them answers. And we provide those videos to each office. So that then becomes a part of their internal training system. Yeah. Yep. So as they onboard new employees, because I feel that's a big challenge with offices, is translating all that information. The doctor can provide them with the training videos for their software, and everyone's an expert, once they listen to them.
And I love that. I love that because you're able to easily duplicate and replicate it. And like you said, every new team member, they don't have to wait to be able to get an appointment with Wave to go back and do the training again. The training's right there. Like, just watch the training again. And if they forget about something, or if they're doing something incorrectly, great, go watch the video. The video's right there. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that.
And we're big on just videos anyway, that, just tiny questions. If I'm filling in for the financial coordinator and I need to know how to post a contract from our website, they can just go in and find the video for post a contract, right? Watch a 10-minute video and they know how to post a contract.
They're already good to go.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I was like, Dino is amazing. That's probably the top thing you can do.
It really is. It's one of the things that I'm kind of on a bit of a mission right now. My two missions are getting people to see how using virtual appointments and virtual consults can actually scale their business faster than anything else that's out there. And the second is, and create more recordings, like video recordings. The way that especially the youth today, or the millennials, or the workforce that's coming in, the way they want to learn, majority of them want to learn through video, not even being told what to do, but video so they can watch it and consume it. It's the way they've been taught how to consume information for decades and usually most of their life. And so why not give it to them in that realm? And once you have that library set and ready to go, you not that you never have to do it again, but the update is so much easier. I mean, you know this, Paula, you've been in so many offices, and when you're working in offices, how many doctors talk about, oh yeah, we have our work manual, but what's the thing they always say right afterwards? It needs to be updated. We haven't updated in forever, right? Like, exactly. Do you hear that too?
Exactly. And for us, again, we just get so used to it, like you're saying, that it can be a 10-minute thing, right? That you go, okay, you know what? We've updated the way we're going to do a new patient exam in the practice. Let's do a quick video recording on it. Yep. Just, record your screen and talk into the mic, and you've got a video. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
It's interesting.
Having information.
It is. It's just about having that information there. I had a team just recently were building their library, and they finally got it when I just said, no, just have somebody literally take your iPhone and hold it up and have one person, let's just say you're teaching them how to turn over a chair. All right. So just have somebody doing it and you just narrating what they're doing while they're doing it. That alone is a great training video. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have amazing lighting. You don't have to get the big video camera crew coming. Your iPhones are perfectly fine.
Perfect.
And doing little things like that. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, really? I could just talk about what's in there. Yes, that's all you got to do is talk. You could take your tour, right? Everybody loves their tour of their office when they can get back to doing that again. And like, just take your iPhone and take it on a tour like you normally would, as if you're giving the tour. Like, you don't need another body in there to give the tour, but walk them through the tour like you normally would. And there's the tour. All these little things that they seem little, but when you think about it, you take the time of that person who's doing it to train. Now you've just decreased the value of that person in the office. And I always do the math like this when I talk to doctors. I say, think about the person who you're having do the training is typically the best person at it. So let's just assume, I'm going to be super simple because I like easy math. Let's just assume they're at $20 an hour. Well, the moment now, and you want them to do that, their job at $20 an hour, that's why you're paying them, because their total value is there. Now you're taking them to go and train somebody and not be able to do their normal job. So now they're at what, $15 an hour value, $10 an hour value, because they're literally being a tour guide and an instructor. That's not what you're paying them to do. So you've lost that work time and you've lost that person's value. So I agree with you. I think if you can create those videos in that library, it just makes so much more sense.
It's amazing. And again, too, the great thing about videos is you can watch it at any time, right?
Yeah.
And I like that you can pause videos. I could take notes.
That's right.
Note taker. So again, I couldn't be more on board with you on that. But I loved that newsletter. I love all of your newsletters.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. Thanks. Well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about some really success stories that you've had in your business when you've had doctors who were maybe in a tough spot, maybe even felt like at some point, I'm sure this has happened before, where yes, I want to switch over to Wave, but it's just too much time. I don't have the time to do that right now. It's going to be my team's going to be giving me pushback, but then they were able to do it and you were able to see the positive outcome. Do you have anything like that?
Yeah. So, especially during COVID, Dino, that I'll tell you, when our offices shut down, a lot of doctors just thought, I think the immediate reaction of everyone was, we can't do anything.
Right. We're stuck.
We're stuck.
Yep.
What a great time. If I had a doctor, and I had many of them out there, who try to plan for the best time to do a computer conversion. Yes. And they're like, you know what? So you're telling me my assistants can log on from their computer at home to
Right.
do the training. Like we can all be together on a meeting like this. We can do the training while we can't be in the office, right?
Yep.
And we could change over our computer system. And I'm like, yes, we can do this.
That's
So
so cool.
it was for those doctors, and I think that was the greatest success that I've seen in a long time, in our industry, was just that if you ever wanted to make a digital pivot, that was like the best time to do it, right?
Right.
But I feel that any time, because I think what we're discussing here too is the value of time, right?
Yeah,
That
that's
how
great.
priceless that is, that you can never get it back. So making changes, though it may seem hard, of course, our company, are experts in helping you to prepare for the change. And I feel if you know that someone's there with you, you're there taking your side right there at that moment, and we're walking you through the process, it's not a hard process, and to be honest, your office would need to be closed 2.5 days to do the data conversion is it. We
Wow.
train you prior. You'll have 6 little 2-hour online training sessions. We are always available for on-site trainings, wherever possible, or now they're back.
Yeah.
So we can't wait to go out and start doing those again. But, it's an easy process. I think just sometimes it's just the point of change, right?
That's
But
right.
make the change, because the sooner you do, the sooner you can take things to the next level with efficiency, with going digital in your practice, with, again, just providing more ways to communicate with our patients, which I think
I've
that in itself is a service.
It totally is. And I think it's a great service. I have been around a lot of salespeople in my life, and in the ortho space, I was just at an event recently where there's a lot of salespeople, and I really enjoy talking to them and seeing the experiences that they're having in the offices. But I'd love to kind of dive in a little bit to your perspective of, you were, not only did you work in an office, but then you were a consultant for offices. And then now you're able to have this opportunity to talk to doctors about what they need and how you can fulfill that need. How has your background helped you in being successful in what you're doing here with Wave?
Well, I think huge. Just like if you wore orthodont or braces, as a teen, as a child, when you went through that experience and then you start working in the field, you have a different perspective, right? You're going, well, what bothered me most about wearing braces? How can I make that experience better?
Yeah.
When you work in an office, and I did go through a couple of computer conversions and offices that I worked at, it was painful, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
People kind of, sometimes you have those that love change, I think fully embrace it and jump in and are eager to do so. But you have some that kind of dig their heels in, right? And go, I've been using the same computer software for 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't take it away, from me. But I think,
wait,
again,
I got to get rid of my IBM computer to do
right,
this.
Right. And I can just click, or I can have WaveOrtho on my iPhone,
yeah,
and have full access, to it, and answer emergency calls or whatever, on there to a text someone. So, it is painful, when you talk about it, when you think about it, when you've talked to anybody who's done one, you don't typically get, the, oh my
it was
gosh,
the greatest joy of my life.
Exactly. So being real with it, I think that I can really, get in touch with, or reach out to those team members and be able to say, hey, you know what, we're going to make this easy for you, though, because we've got a step by step. If you do these things, typically, when you sign up to get a new computer system, you're 3 or 4 months out before you do the conversion anyway. If you're preparing along the way, once you get to that day, you're set, you're done, you're ready. And I think in the end, with a lot of our offices, I feel the initial week, in your new software is, again, always a little discomfort, right? Think of when you got a new phone, you got to get used to it and all its, how it works. But we're also there for you support wise. You can call us at any moment in time. I've had people email, go, oh, Paula, I got to enter my first contract. What do I do? And I'm like, no problem. Call me when you get a minute. We'll do it together.
We'll walk
right?
through it.
We'll share the screen. We'll do it together. You got this, we got this. And so
I think
as long as you know you're not alone.
valuable. That's really valuable, knowing that they have that support, right? To know that they, I think oftentimes there's the worry, the concern. I think as human beings, we often have that concern of, all right, how is this not going to turn out well for me or make me look bad? And so to know that, no, you have that support. You can call me after the fact and whenever, that we can make sure this is running smooth for you. I would assume that helps out with, like, with your experience, it helps out with being able to look at other people's perspective, like how is this going to affect you, front desk, how's it going to affect you, TCs, financial. You can talk to all of those places and really understand, help them understand, you get their perspective.
Yeah. And just setting them up to be successful, showing them how to use the tools. And that's the big part in all of it, is if you have great training from the beginning, if you have recordings to go back to, if you've set yourself up to be successful by customizing everything you want to do from the beginning, then when you go in, it's already tailored to fit what you want it to do, what you want it to accomplish for you. So I think those are fun parts and really success stories too. Or is at the end when an office can say, hey, you know what? I love this. I did worry at the beginning, but oh my gosh, now that we have it, I love it,
That's awesome.
And the patients love it.
Who is, let's just play for a moment that I am on the other end of this podcast listening to it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe I need something new and different inside of my office. Who's the ideal person to be thinking about a shift over to Wave, or at least looking into what Wave can do? Who's that ideal doctor?
I think Wave can benefit every office out there, Dino.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I sell it, right?
Sure.
But truly from everything that we offer, and on our website, people can view a full list of all of our features, can see descriptions of all of those. I can't imagine that anyone could look at that list of items and not say that I don't need that, in my office.
So like you were saying earlier, like some startups too, all the way through.
All the way through. We offer 4 different levels of different, packages that we have. So whether you just want the core systems, or I spoke with an office earlier this week that they literally just do, the basics, right? They aren't high tech. They don't want to use all those other avenues. So great. The core package of Wave is going to work for you, right? And it's in a price that works for you, and your particular practice. If you're the mega office out there, or, I would say, I work with a lot of startups too that, doctor, wouldn't it be great to, when you launch your social media marketing campaign, if you have a website and you've already got Wave in place, people can book, new patients can book a new patient exam right off your website.
So smart.
As you're going out getting your referring doctors, tell them to go to, have the patients go to your website. They can book an appointment with you, even if your office doors aren't open yet. They're booking for that future opening, that future week that you're opening the doors of your practice. So it really speaks to everybody.
That's awesome, because that allows people to see that, it is, I love the idea that you can kind of customize the 4 different packages, or the 4 different packages are customized, so that if I don't want to be overwhelmed, right? I think a lot of concern for so many people is, oh, just one more thing for me to add to my plate. I always talk to my doctors when I onboard them and say, look, the thing is, I don't want to give you another job. The last thing you need is another job. So to be able to make it customized to what they need, and just, that's a great example of that doctor where they not huge into tech, don't need to be. There's an opportunity to be a tech, but there's also an opportunity to be low tech. And that you guys can say, hey, we're not going to overwhelm you with all of the bells and whistles, which is what usually bogs people down. Most people get bogged down by the stuff that they're never going to use, but it's part of the package, right? It's like they get so worried about the 4 or 3 things that are going to be in that package that they're never going to use, but that's not what they should worry about. So having the ability to say, oh, this is perfect for you, just use these 3 things, and that's going to change the way that you practice by itself.
Absolutely. And then I have doctors all the time too, who, purchase the smaller packages, but then call up in a month or so and go, you know what, I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready for more, and then we bump up,
That's cool. It's like, go to the gym and you just build up that. That's right. You give them more of the bells and whistles and more of the benefits to what you can do. And I love that. I love people, like, the ability to to just step in, realize, oh, this is exactly what they said it was going to be. It's going to really help me out more. Is there more that can help me out even more, and then be able to move up that ladder? That's great.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, so let's talk then real quick about the future. I'm really big right now into the evolution of the practice and making sure that people are really looking towards the future as opposed to just the now. I think if there's one thing that COVID taught all of us is, I was trying to scream this from the rooftops when COVID was happening, everybody was shut down, was the way that you will react when we get to go back to work is completely determined on how you act now. Well, I think right now, how we're going to see our practices in the future, we got a lot of different things going on, from competition of your, DIY companies out there to the DSOs. So what is the future for Wave, and where are you guys helping practices get to?
Dino, our continued efforts obviously are always making things just easier, maximizing their digital workflow in a practice. Today's world has, intraoral scanners, a lot of digital lab work that we're doing, so we've created a lab manager that's available inside of Wave, so you can, back in my day, you had the list of the lab, the paper list in the lab that hung. Yeah. And you'd update it, as you checked in Invisalign cases and things like that. You can now do it built within your software, and nice. Right from a patient chart, you can put in that information, and you have digital access and remote access to it. So it makes it just so nice.
Very cool.
Our future, we have a wonderful new aspect coming out, which is a Charting Pro. So it's really focusing on the clinical side of charting, which I feel no other software out there has really been able to do that. Other things have been put in place, like scheduling, your automatic payments, things for the administrative side of things, but really assisting our doctors, on treatment planning, on having all the tools that they need to specifically note in their charting, things that they're looking at or watching for future. So wow, that's kind of where we are, and we're always advancing. And we love, number one, our clients make the best requests ever. So nice. We have a feature request inside of our software that we're constantly watching that and monitoring it. And if somebody's got an idea that's going to improve our software, we're putting it in place.
Well, that's great. I love the ability to really listen to the users, the people who are in the trenches every single day, because we're in our own jars. We think everything we do is amazing and the software is awesome and all the stuff. But then when we have people being like, well, do you realize this doesn't do this? And isn't it funny that oftentimes it's the smallest little tweak that you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think about that? Like why that, right. Yes, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to have those people talking to you about that and telling you their feedback. I'm going to get to this point here just a moment. What I want to do is I want to kind of talk about, when it comes to the future of Wave, when it comes to the future of practices, what do you think that most practices right now should be focusing on to actually have a little more unity, success? We all know that there's a challenge with hiring people right now. We all know that, there's a lot of team members maybe that are looking at options, if you will. Mm-hmm. When you're in these offices, you're talking to these doctors, what do you think is something really necessary for them to actually create that unity inside of the office, and how does Wave help out with that?
Well, I think, again, continuing education, just that everyone's on the same page. I can always just go back to that, I guess, because I just feel that, again, people leave the office, right? That's a reality of our practices today. Having things that are available, like you said, digitally, online, having training tools available. Again, I just cannot speak more highly of systems and team communication and education for our team.
So true.
I just think that brings us all together.
It so does. It's so true. It's so fascinating how that can just help out. And I think people really feel that you are valuing them when you're investing in them with systems, with education, with seeing. I love that the very first person that you ever worked for had that mindset of systems will make us successful. I actually have a buddy who had a book years ago. I mean, it's still out there, but it was Success is Not a Secret, It's a System.
Yeah.
And it's totally true. So I love that you have that background.
Well, it's just, again, training. I think having your team all be on the same page and all have scripting and things to say, when they come and encounter an issue in the office, or, again, I think it helps to not ever have issues in the office if you have a great system in place.
That's right. Wow. Well, Paula, you have filled us up with a ton of great information, and just thank you so much for being a great representation of what I think the software companies out there are trying to do. I know Wave is, many of companies out there are trying to really help ease the life of these doctors, and you're just a great representative of that. So I really, really appreciate it. And we've been fed with amazing information today. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me, Dino. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to be able to,
it's always fun to talk with you,
chat with you, and enjoy some time.
Well, we've gotten to the place in our show where we ask our 6 questions of every one of our attendees. And it's a rapid fire. Like, I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to give me the first thing that pops to your mind. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready. Is there a buzzer?
No buzzers. We won't tell you you're wrong, but we will.
Okay.
So as you talk to all these doctors, as you've been out there in the world, and you've been in this industry for so long, what do you see as the most expensive thing that private practice owners are missing in their practice?
Gore, of course, I got to say software. That software, it is an investment, for your offices. It absolutely is. But I feel it's one of the best returns on investment, that if you make a smart choice, if you have something that, again, assists your team, assists the practice, and overall really helps to create a good patient experience in your office, that's going to pay off for you in the long run.
And isn't that really what it all comes down to? Like, finding the softwares and the systems that help make it a great patient experience and a great team experience too, because you're helping them shorten the learning curve in their life as well. I love it. Really. What's a book that you feel like every private practice owner should read?
Okay.
I did not expect that one.
I cannot help but, someone shared this book with me not too long ago, but I believe the author very well. And as you can see, I do mark different spots in it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Daily. So not to be cheesy, but this is a great, lovely book.
So sorry for those of you that are on the podcast, those who are on the podcast, she's holding up my book, 21 Days to Master Your Time, Business, and Relationships, which is my kind of like daily devotional type book. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. That's super nice. All right, now get to the real one. No, I'm just kidding.
I do have 2 real ones here. They are real though, but yours is truly a real one that's always on my desk.
That's super nice.
I'm not sure I can say the name of this one.
Yeah, you can. You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had it before.
You Are a Badass.
Yes.
And someone once recommended this book to me. And again, with this too, you can see I've got it dog-eared. I underline. I'm horrible with my books that way. But I always mark certain things that I just love. And then just an oldie but a goodie is Think and Grow Rich. So I'm sorry, I couldn't just narrow it down to one.
But you know what? First of all, we've had other people talk about You Are a Badass on this podcast, and I think it's great. And I don't think we've had anybody mention Think and Grow Rich so far. And that is such an essential book for people mindset wise, realizing that there's so much more than the hard work that people think needs to go into being successful. That so much of it is mindset. So thank you for bringing that up. That's awesome.
Thanks for asking.
Wow, that's really sweet. And it's super sweet that you brought up 21 Days. Well, not to tout myself again, but speaking of my books, in my book, The Practice RX, I wrote my first book. I focus on team culture and team performance as the foundation for business growth. As someone who goes out there and talks to a lot of doctors and sees a lot of teams, what do you see as the biggest challenge private practice owners are facing with their teams and their office culture?
Well, I think, and I believe really, especially now too, because I've talked to a lot of offices that are going through this, is just, again, the turnover, in an office. So again, I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but just going back to, really reinforcing your training, going back to your newsletter, that you have video trainings. And like you said, they don't have to be perfect. And training and education and information doesn't have to come in perfect, but I promise it's always going to affect, your team. You're always going to walk away learning something. I feel like on a daily, I learn things from this industry, Dino, that are valuable pearls and tools that I just reflect back after a meeting, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I loved that, and it can be something so simple that you're training on. But
I think, again, I just think people appreciate that when you are willing to invest your time and money and effort into training them and making them better.
Yeah.
So, we've talked about all this stuff. Question number 4 is always that we want to make sure people know how they can reach out to you. If I'm a doctor, if I'm sitting here and I've heard everything you have to say, I was like, well, let me try it out, which I totally encourage people to just to find out what is Wave all about. How do people reach out to you?
Yeah. So our website address is www.waveortho.com. You can communicate us live chat on the website. You can send in a message. We're happy to schedule a demo. We're always happy to chat with you. So give us a call.
That is awesome. That's great. WaveOrtho.com. All right. Number 5, what is the best advice that you've ever received in life or business?
I think the best advice is just be present, be present, enjoy the moment. Always just think, what am I doing right now? Right. And like, I guess the doctor that I worked for, that on a daily basis, you're probably surrounded with beautiful energy, right? When you're taking braces off of a patient or someone's getting, braces on, just that joy, remember why you do what you do, value that, be present. That's just the best advice I could ever give. I
was sitting with I was talking to a doctor just the other day where he was talking about how his wife kind of mentioned to him, he comes home at like 6 o'clock, which is great. But he always has his laptop on him when they're watching TV or and she said, you always have that thing open. And I was talking about how what she was asking for was you to be present, even if it's just watching TV, so I'm so glad that you said that. Be present with people. It's the greatest gift you can give to somebody is to be here.
Yeah.
It's so good. All right. Last question. What's the best resource or tool every private practice owner should be using to grow their practice?
I believe in podcasts.
Oh,
like we're doing right now.
Nice.
I'm a huge podcaster. Reading, again, I'm going to go back to just that whole, train your self-discipline, and like you said, invest in yourself, invest in your team. Those will be the biggest payoffs, you can ever receive.
Well, I'm going to put it out there too, that since we are talking about Wave, that the best resource or tool could be Wave. So go find out if it is, and at least have the demo taken, at least have the conversation about what it can do. Don't be afraid of the new technology and allow somebody to share with you how you can make your life easier and at the same time increase the customer service that you're giving and making that patient experience amazing. So I'm going to put that plug out there for you too as well.
Thank you, Dino.
Well, Paula, again, it's just been a joy and a privilege to talk with you and to share your information, your story with other people. And I know those who are listening to this podcast got a ton of information and at the very, very minimum saw the power of everything we talked about, from continual education to recording your training to finding out how software can actually help improve your life in every way inside of the business. So thank you again for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dino. Anytime.
All right, everybody. That's another great episode of the Propreneur Podcast. And I just love that we are able to bring you the best practices for your practices every single week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, share this podcast and its message with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget that our goal here is always to help you be more proactive, productive, and profitable in all areas of your life and business. We'll see you on the next episode, everybody. Thanks so much again for listening to the Propreneur Podcast. We really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you do so. Also, if you feel like you might be a good fit for our podcast as a guest or know somebody who you think would be, go ahead and email us at dino@dinowatt.com. Again, thanks for support. We'll see you on the next episode.